What in God's name do you think you're doing, lurking around these kids? The voice, sharp enough to cut glass, practically detonated in my ear. I mean, I literally just finished debugging a network issue in the library, wiping my hands on my jeans, ready to head out for the day. My brain was still stuck in router settings mode, not confrontational parent mode. But there she was, a woman I'd never seen before, with that perfectly coiffed blonde bob and a scowl that could curdle milk, squared up in my face. Her finger, adorned with a giant sparkly ring, was practically poking my nose. "I've been watching you," she hissed, her eyes narrowed. "And I know you're not supposed to be here. You're not on the staff list, I've checked. What kind of pervert hangs around a school without proper identification?" My jaw practically hit the floor. "Excuse me?" I managed my voice a good octave higher than usual. "What are you even talking about? Lurking?" "I'm Cameron, I'm an IT consultant. I work here under contract." I pulled out my wallet, fumbling a bit in my shock, and showed her my company ID. "See? My name, my company? I'm fixing their network infrastructure, been doing it for months." I tried to sound calm, professional, but my pulse was thrumming. The sheer audacity. She didn't even glance at the ID properly. She just waved her hand dismissively, cutting me off mid-sentence. "Consultant? Contractor? That's just a fancy word for someone trying to sneak in. I've spoken to other parents. We're all concerned for our children's safety. You're not vetted, no badge, no staff list. That's a huge red flag, buddy, and it frankly sounds like you should be jailed for creeping on these kids." Jailed? Oh, holy hell. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a full-blown industrial-strength Karen. My initial confusion was rapidly turning into a mix of incredulity and simmering annoyance. For months, I'd been coming in and out of this school, doing my job. I'm not an employee, so no uniform, no school badge. It was part of the deal: freedom, independence, just get the job done. And now this woman was accusing me of being a child predator. "Look, lady," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "this is ridiculous. I'm literally an essential part of keeping this school's systems running. If you're so concerned, let's just go to the office. Right now. We can clear this up in 2 seconds." I figured the school office staff, who knew me well, would put a swift end to her tirade. So we marched to the main office, Karen practically radiating righteous fury, me just trying to keep my eyes from rolling out of my head. We burst in, and the office lady, bless her soul, looked up from her computer with that practiced, weary smile teachers and admin staff perfect after years of dealing with, well, people like Karen. "Everything all right, Cameron?" she asked, already seeing the impending storm. "Not exactly," I replied, gesturing vaguely at Karen. "This woman seems to think I'm some sort of creeper who should be jailed for working here without a staff badge." Karen, of course, jumped in before the office lady could respond. "He's not on the staff list. He doesn't wear a badge. We have no idea who this man is, and it's a security risk. He even admits he's just a contractor." She emphasized contractor, as if it were a dirty word. The office lady sighed, a small, almost imperceptible puff of air, then turned her full, calm attention to Karen. "With all due respect, Cameron has been working with us for several months now. He's our IT consultant. He was even introduced at a school assembly a while back to all the staff and students, which is why he doesn't need a specific school badge. We know who he is." I could see Karen's brain struggling to process this. Her eyes narrowed further. "An assembly? That's not good enough. Why isn't he on a list? Why no badge? How are parents supposed to know who's legitimate and who isn't?" "He's a contractor, Karen," the office lady explained patiently. "Not a full-time employee. His company handles his background checks, and he doesn't work directly for the school. That's a pretty standard practice for specialized roles like IT." Karen was not having it. Not one bit. Her face was turning a rather alarming shade of puce. "Well, it's not good enough. Other parents are worried. An email needs to go out to all parents immediately to address these concerns about unvetted individuals roaming the school grounds." The office lady gave a slight, resigned nod. "Of course, Karen, I can send an email out to clarify the situation regarding our contractors and consultants." She looked at me. "Cameron, you're all good to go. Sorry for the disruption." I just nodded, a slight smirk playing on my lips. "Thanks. Have a good one." As I turned to leave, I could still hear Karen loudly dissecting the security flaws with the office lady, who was now expertly deflecting and agreeing to send emails. I shook my head, walking back out into the slightly less dramatic afternoon. Some days you debug networks, some days you fight off accusations of being a criminal. Just another Tuesday, I guess. At least I wasn't in jail yet.
If you're still watching, you're clearly into this stuff. Go ahead and subscribe. I've got more stories just like these. Now, on to the last one.
I swear, some days you just wake up and the universe decides, today we're throwing you a curveball shaped like a camouflage-clad woman and a shopping cart. I mean, seriously. Who anticipates a full-blown tug-of-war over a stray Walmart cart before they've even stepped foot inside the store? It was a Tuesday, probably around noon, and I was rolling up to Walmart. The lot was, as usual, a jungle out there, packed tighter than a can of sardines in a vice grip. After a heroic 10-minute hunt, I finally snagged a spot in the far reaches of Siberia, parked the car, and started the long trek towards the entrance. My mind was already on my shopping list, mentally calculating if I really needed those extra crunchy peanut butter pretzels. Then a beacon of hope appeared, a rogue shopping cart propped up against the curb, abandoned but perfect. Score, I thought, already feeling like I'd won a small lottery. No wrestling with the chain gang of carts, no waiting for an attendant. I grabbed the handle, feeling that sweet, smooth roll, and started pushing it towards the automatic doors. My day was looking up. But just as I was about to glide through, another figure appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, converging on the door at the exact same moment. She was striking. Full-on hunting camouflage from head to toe, not just a jacket. We're talking full tactical gear. My first thought was, wow, someone's really committed to their deer stand aesthetic, even for a Walmart run. My second thought, which came a fraction of a second later, was, oh, hell no. Before I could even register what was happening, this camo commando reached across me and yanked the cart handle, pulling it hard. I need this cart, she declared, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. My grip tightened instinctively. Excuse me? I was just using it, my hands literally still on it. I stared at her, genuinely bewildered. Was this a prank? Did I miss a memo about cart ownership being a contact sport? She glared, her eyes narrowed like she was sighting a deer. I'm Karen, and I'm entitled to this cart. She emphasized entitled like it was a self-evident truth, a universal law. I blinked. You're entitled to a cart? That's a new one. Is that a Walmart policy I missed? Do I need to show my entitlement card at the door now? My voice was probably dripping with sarcasm, but I couldn't help it. This was next-level absurdity. Karen's face, already pinched, seemed to contort further. I work minimum wage, she huffed, as if that explained everything. I deserve special treatment. I don't have time to wait for a cart. I actually let out a small, disbelieving laugh. Wow. Okay. So your minimum wage status grants you priority cart access? Good to know. I'll pass that along to my boss. Maybe I can get a raise and a personal shopper. I tugged the cart back slightly just to assert that I wasn't letting go. Her eyes darted around, clearly looking for an audience, but the few people passing by just hurried on, probably used to the daily spectacle of Walmart dramatics. Seeing no immediate support, she leaned in, lowering her voice conspiratorially as if revealing a devastating secret. And besides, she hissed, puffing out her chest a bit, which was covered in a particularly aggressive-looking camo pattern. This is my uniform. I'm practically on duty here. Now that was a head-scratcher. Your uniform? I echoed, genuinely confused. You mean your hunting camo is your uniform for Walmart? Because I'm pretty sure the only uniform that gets you special privileges here is a blue vest with an employee ID. I tried to keep my tone even, but a smile was starting to tug at the corner of my mouth. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. Her eyes widened, but not in shock, in pure, unadulterated outrage. It was like I'd just revealed the flaw in her carefully constructed, self-serving logic. Her grip, which had been surprisingly strong, faltered for a split second as she processed that her ultimate authority wasn't landing. That was all the opening I needed. I gave the cart a decisive shove, pushing it past her flailing reach and directly through the automatic doors. Sorry, Karen, I said, giving her a pointed look over my shoulder as I glided into the blessed air conditioning. But my shopping list isn't going to check itself, and I'm pretty sure minimum wage camo isn't a valid form of ID for cart theft. I didn't wait for her retort, just kept walking, listening for a moment to the frustrated sputter she let out behind me. And that, folks, is how my Tuesday at Walmart started, with an unexpected, ridiculous, and highly entertaining battle for a shopping cart against the self-proclaimed entitled Karen in camo. Some days, you just gotta grab your popcorn and enjoy the show, especially when you're the main character.
You ever just be minding your own business, enjoying some theme park fries when a grown woman decides to use your food as a spittoon? Yeah, you heard that right. A full-on, disgusting, saliva-filled spit right into my crispy, salty goodness. I'm still reeling from it, and honestly, the thought of that day still makes my stomach turn a little, even with the satisfying ending. It was a perfectly sunny, carefree Saturday, the kind where you just feel the stress melting away. My friends and I, Leo, Maya, and Sarah, were living our best lives at the local theme park. We're seasoned pros, you know? Got those all-year admission passes, which basically means we could drain our wallets on overpriced rides, half-rigged games, and every single greasy snack imaginable. And we were doing just that, riding the coasters until we were dizzy, laughing so hard our jaws ached. But by mid-afternoon, our internal fuel gauges were flashing red. Everyone was craving something substantial, but me? I'm a simple woman. Give me fries, and I'm happy. I'm Juliana, by the way, and at 6 feet 3 inches, I tend to stand out a bit. My friends always joke I should get paid for my height, and maybe I subconsciously do, because people love asking me for directions. So, there I was, happily munching on my first few glorious golden fries, basking in the theme park glow, pure bliss. Then came the tap. Not a gentle "excuse me" tap, more of an impatient, insistent poke on my shoulder. I turned, already braced for the inevitable "do you work here?" question. Standing there was a woman. Let's just call her Karen, because, well, she was peak Karen. She had that pinched, entitled look that just screams, "I demand to speak to your manager." "Excuse me," she snapped, not even waiting for me to fully face her. "Where is the nearest restroom? And don't tell me you don't know, you're clearly an employee." I sighed internally. "Actually, ma'am, I don't work here. I'm just a guest, like you. I think there's a restroom just past the big roller coaster over there," I said, pointing vaguely. My height often makes people assume I'm staff, especially with my relatively plain clothes compared to the vibrant park uniforms. Karen's face twisted. "Don't lie to me. I've been looking for 10 minutes. You're tall, you're in plain clothes, you're obviously an usher or something. Now, tell me where I can find a real employee." Her voice was starting to rise, attracting a few curious glances. My patience was wearing thin. "Look, I understand you're frustrated, but I really don't work here. I just bought these fries 2 minutes ago." I held up my half-eaten basket as evidence, hoping she'd get the hint. That was a mistake. A big, greasy, salty mistake. Her eyes narrowed, scanning my fries. "Oh, you think you're so clever, don't you? With your little act? Fine. If you won't help, maybe this will teach you some respect." Before I could even process it, before my brain even registered the absolute audacity of what had just happened, she leaned forward, gathered a disgusting glob of saliva in her mouth, and spat right into my basket of fries. Not just a little, either. A thick, wet, glistening projectile landed directly on top of my precious, innocent golden fries. I froze. My mouth fell open. My mind went blank. The sheer, utter violation of it. My perfectly good food ruined. My personal space invaded. My brain just screamed, "What the actual F?" But someone else's brain wasn't blank. My friend Leo, who had been coming back from a game stall with Maya, had apparently seen the whole disgusting incident unfold. His face, usually goofy and relaxed, was a mask of pure, protective fury. I saw his eyes lock onto the spit, then onto Karen, and something in him just snapped. "Hey, what the hell was that?" Leo roared, dropping his oversized plush prize. He was on Karen like a shot, grabbing her by the front of her shirt. I heard Maya gasp behind him. Karen, startled by his sudden aggression, let out a yelp. Before she could even properly react, Leo's foot shot out, connecting with her shin. Whack. Karen buckled, letting out a shriek that could curdle milk. "You bastard!" she screeched, scrambling to regain her balance, completely thrown off guard. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say violence is the answer. It's not. But watching Leo, usually the most chill guy you'd ever meet, completely lose his cool and defend my honor and my fries with such primal fury, a tiny petty part of me felt a flicker of deeply satisfying, vengeful joy. He was still holding her shirt, about to light into her verbally when a genuine park employee, drawn by Karen's shriek, sprinted over. "Hey! What's going on here?" the employee yelled, a harried teenager with a name tag reading Kevin. Karen, seeing a real employee, immediately went into victim mode, pointing a shaky finger at Leo. "This maniac attacked me. He assaulted me, and she gestured wildly at me, still standing there dumbfounded. "She works here, and just let him do it." Kevin, bless his heart, took one look at my spit-covered fries, then at Leo's seething face and Karen's disheveled indignation. It didn't take a genius to figure out the truth. "Ma'am, I saw you spit on her food from over there," he said, pointing to a nearby pretzel stand. "That is absolutely unacceptable behavior. You are going to have to leave the park." Karen's jaw dropped. "What? You can't just kick me out. I paid good money to be here." "You just assaulted another guest by spitting on them," Kevin replied, his voice firm despite his youth. "That's grounds for immediate removal. And sir," he nodded at Leo, "while I understand your friend's food was vandalized, physical violence is also not permitted." Leo, still fuming, let go of Karen's shirt. "She spat in her fries, dude, her fries," he exclaimed, gesturing to my sad, ruined meal. Karen, realizing she was caught, gave the most half-hearted, huffy apology I've ever heard. "Fine, whatever, I'm sorry, she wouldn't help me," she mumbled, glaring at me like it was my fault. Then she stomped off, still muttering about unprofessional staff. Kevin turned to me, his face full of genuine sympathy. "Oh my God, I am so sorry, ma'am. That's absolutely disgusting. Let me get you something for this." He practically jogged to the nearest food stall, returning a minute later with 2 fresh, piping hot baskets of fries. "On the house," he said with a small smile. "And maybe a free drink too? Anything for what you just went through." I accepted, still a little stunned, but a smile finally broke through. "Thank you, Kevin, seriously." Sitting there, munching on my fresh, spit-free fries, with Leo still grumbling about Karen, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of satisfaction. Justice, in the form of extra fries and an entitled Karen getting kicked out, was served. We laughed about it for the rest of the day, and for weeks afterwards. "Remember the time Leo went full barbarian over your fries?" became a running joke. And yeah, we went back to the park a few weeks later, and no, I wasn't wearing a uniform, but I definitely kept a closer eye on my fries this time. Stay awesome, guys.
This next one's right up your alley.